We're expecting President Biden as early as tomorrow to announce new outdoor mask wearing guidelines for those who are fully vaccinated. Today, nearly 54% of all U.S. adults have received at least one dose. With a lot still uncertain for us, though. Signs of hope again this week as we move toward the end, hopefully, of the deadly and emotionally draining pandemic that has left so many of us alone, stuck behind our screens. Over the last year, we here have sought to recognize lives well lived as a place to mourn those who have died together. But our next guest says we're still missing an important step. Empathy and a new approach to re-entry that does not seek to brush under the rug everything that we've been through, everything our kids have been through, and all that we have lost. Joining us now is Sherry Turkle. She's a professor of social studies of science and technology program at MIT, author of an exquisite new memoir called The Empathy Diaries, which I read, and I reached out to you like a Twitter stalker when I read it because I was so moved by it. And I really want to start this conversation with you, and I hope you'll be a part of it, about how we talk about reentry, because I did some of the things you warned against. I talked about it as going back to normal and we should be all happy about it. But it turns out it's going to be more complicated than that, you think?
Yes, very much. I think that this desire for the return, this desire, we're back, is so natural because we've been in lockdown. But really, that's not how true mourning happens. Mourning is a good thing. Mourning is when you take stock of what you've lost. And Nicole, what you've been doing for America by talking about lives well lived is part of that process. You knew instinctively that brushing things under the rug, even when you had a president that wanted to, that wasn't right. It's talking about what you've lost, taking stock of that, talking with friends and family and the people you go to school with and work with, and making that part of your collective experience. And that doesn't happen quickly, and it doesn't happen the day that somebody says, okay, masks off. It doesn't happen the day you get your second shot. It really is a process, and Americans don't like this. That we have to embark in together and learn to listen to each other. That's why I think that empathy, really listening to each other as we embark on this process, is really the most important thing.
You also have written about sort of this, glass half full, glass half empty, about what we've learned about the advances of technology. What we've been able to pull off may not be a straight good news story either. Let me read this from what you wrote in Time magazine. We can both admire the efficiencies of remote work sometimes and crave the full embrace of the human. We both use technology with greater invention, and we missed each other more. We're in a position to be wary of pundits who try to sell us on the end of the office or the solution of online education. We're in a position to choose the mix of virtual and face-to-face encounters for different jobs. What does that look like?
Well, what that looks like is I did a study at the beginning of the pandemic, and parents were really excited about all kinds of learning solutions for computers where their kids would, be monitored and would, really use a lot of artificial intelligence to do very, efficient things on the screen. Now, after this, parents are saying, get my child a person. I want a person for my child. And that's because we've had time to immerse ourselves in this technology and really reflect on how grateful we are to it, but also that it isn't the same as being there. And we're oddly, having been able to be sated by it, in a better position to know what we've missed. So, I'm not a kind of Pollyanna about this experience, but I think that we can come out of it with a kind of wisdom that we really didn't have before. It's not unusual that these times of betwixt and between, anthropologists call them liminal times, times that are kind of time out of time, are times of a reset. And I think that would be the best use of this time, to think of it as a time for a reset where we really start to put people first when we look at technology, and also where we can look at our country in a different way. I mean, we've been able to reset the way in which we look at our country because we've been as though voyagers in our country. We've been able to see things that we weren't willing to see before. And we've just watched them on the screen, and we haven't been able to avoid them as a country. And I think that's really an extraordinary moment that we're at.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.